Hi, welcome to SideQuest Linux. You can call me SQL or SideQuest Linux, either doesn't matter. This channel is mainly focused for people who are trying to get into Linux or who are trying to improve their level of knowledge of Linux. And for myself, as a personal motivator, is to improve on how I use Linux personally, as by teaching others, I think I can gain a bit more knowledge into it. The other aspects of me teaching Linux and improving my own skills in Linux is to encourage others to take that step, because I know there's like a lot of resistance when you're asked or when you're faced with that decision of migrating into this. It's not migrating really. It's like just changing what you know in terms of computers and how to use computers. And I hope that this channel can help you make that change as smoothly as possible and gain some new skills and hopefully expand your career options as you go forward. Personally, my day-to-day operating system is Linux, but what we're going to do kind of a neutral setup where whatever operating system that you're currently using, you can just run a software called a virtualization software. The one that I prefer is for Oracle. It's called Oracle VirtualBox Manager, something like that, and it should be able to get you to where you want to go in terms of installing a Linux operating system and using it for learning purposes on a day-to-day basis. So I guess we can just get started with that. We can just go to our web browser and download the Oracle VM Manager. I think I have it in my history here, so I can just quickly go to it. Or we can just search for it, it's okay. Oracle VirtualBox, here it is. So basically, a virtualization software like VirtualBox Manager is something that enables you to install a new operating system on top of your current one. I think I can just remove this. So if you go to this URL, it should bring you to this page for VirtualBox, and you can go to downloads here, and you can select for Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. Just as an example, let's look at the Windows one. It's taking a bit of time. Oh, it'll download the executable. That's fine. So it should do the same for the other two. So once you've done that and you've installed it, the next thing that you need is a Linux operating system. Now, my preferred operating system right now is Fedora, and reasons being that I like how the project is going. It has a lot of backing. It has a lot of good documentation because of Red Hat. So it's actually one of the better ones to use. Now, the reason that I'm speaking on this spins are like the main desktop environment for Fedora is GNOME. It's a bit heavy, especially for a VM, because you really won't need the desktop that much, because as we go through the lessons, you'll be going through a lot of terminal-based stuff. So you can pick a lighter one, which is what I intend to do with picking a Fedora Spin. It's just a lighter or different desktop environment. So yes, you can see right now they're running on Fedora 37, which is, I think it's very recent, maybe like a month. And you can pick any of this desktop environments, but I think I prefer LXQT. So if you click on it, you'll see the download. And once you click on the download, it should bring you to, it should start the download. It should take you to the page where you can actually download the particular spin. There's nothing different in terms of underlying functionality of the operating system. It's just the front. So once you click download, it should start pulling it down for you. Yeah, that's about that. So I'll cancel it because I've already downloaded it, and I think I can even close this. So now, right now where you are, you should have installed VirtualBox, and you should have the Fedora ISO. Now an ISO, just for explanation, is just for clarity, it's like a disk image. It's like a CD basically, and but it can be softer because it is softer at the end of the day, just in not on a physical disk. So yes, if you open your VM VirtualBox Manager, these are my other ones that I use. I usually use this for learning penetration testing and security, and I use this to host the services that I use this for testing. So basically, this will work together, and it's actually very interesting because I didn't think I could run two VMs on my laptop, which is a ThinkPad T450 with 8 GB RAM, but it works quite well. Like I can do more or less everything that I want to do. BSD is like a Unix-based operating system. I think it's on the line of macOS. This is just for sysadmin stuff that I'm learning right now. So currently, these are the three VMs that I'm usually using at the moment. So we will need to set up a new virtual machine for Fedora. So basically, the steps that we're going to do that is we'll start with the new here. Just click on new. The name is going to be Fedora. This is the path that is going to be on. You can leave that as default. This is the type and the version, which is correct. And you can see here we have the recommended memory size of 1 GB RAM. I think that's okay because it's a lighter spin. If it was maybe, I guess even it could also work for the GNOME desktop environment, but leave it as 1 for now. Then we're going to create a virtual hard disk. It's like a virtual hard disk basically. It's like a hard disk but not a physical one. So let's create that. The disk image, that's okay. These are the two I'm not very familiar with, but I think they're about the same, but I usually go with the VDI because I think you can take this and put it in you can import it into another VirtualBox manager, and it should just pick up where it left off. This I think is specific to Oracle, but don't normally do that. You can do some research on that. Okay, dynamically allocated, that's okay, so that it can move. It says here, will only use space on your physical hard disk as it fills up to the maximum fixed size, although it will not shrink again automatically when space is freed. Yeah, so that's a bit, I think it's self-explanatory. Yeah, so we're going to give it 20 GB. Just we won't really fill it up really, but it's just to ensure that we have enough space to do all the things that we want to do in terms of installing programs and using them. Yeah, so that's that. And yeah, so here that's now I guess you can call it like allocated space for the VM because it's still empty. Like there's nothing. If you click start, it won't go anywhere. It'll just it'll give you this it'll ask you to select a disk and all that, so we'll cancel that for now. So it'll boot up, but it won't go anywhere. No bootable medium found. Yeah, and yes, if you click on this and you can't get your mouse back, that's it's very common. Like that's one of the first things that you can see, that is you can't get it back. So if you click on the right control button, like next to print screen, I guess, I don't know, for mine it's next to print screen, but it should release and you get back your mouse. Yeah, it's one of those tricky things that you learn as you do. So we'll close this. You can power it off. Now I'll need to give it an image to boot off of, or rather we need to give it the ISO to boot off of. So we'll say go to settings here. And then we can say we can just go down the line here. So we go to system. Now this is what we set. This is very important. We need the optical boot because the ISO is like a disk. So the VirtualBox manager will detect it as a disk. So you need it to be selected, and the hard disk as well. The floppy, I don't know why they still have this, but I guess for people who use older things. The processor, one CPU is good. If you have more, you can go for it. And the display, I have two displays, so let's give it one, and you can expand on the video memory, just to ensure that there's no lagginess or whatever. Storage. Now here, this is where we'll add the image. You see the add optical drive next to the IDE. We'll click on that. If it's not listed here, you can say add, and you can select it from your file explorer, which is this one. I also had the Workstation Live 35. I've been using it for some time, but it's no longer supported as of today from what I saw. So that's why I got 37. So yeah, we'll say okay, and we'll choose it. This I think we can remove. So yeah, that's about that. We have the ISO loaded, we have our virtual hard disk loaded. We can go to the audio, don't need the audio. NAT. Now, I mean the networking. So now the networking is a bit tricky. You can leave it as this, it'll work just fine. You can use a bridged adapter. What a bridged adapter is that it treats your virtual machine like it's another machine on your local network. So you'll get an IP based off the schema that you're currently using. So just basically like if you're using a 192.168.0.5, this one can be like 192.168.0.6 or whatever. The name, this for me, the ENP means that I'm using a LAN cable. If you're using Wi-Fi, you select that, but that's if you're using bridged adapter. Right now I'm preferring the NAT network, and this maybe I can go over it a bit. Now, what this does is that it creates like a subnet for my virtual boxes. Just to give you an overview, everything else here should be okay, so you can say okay. If you come to File and you go to Preferences and you select on the network here, you have this setup. So you can just add it here. You can say NAT network and it'll come up. So on this NAT network, when you click the lower one that has the cog on it, the edit selected NAT network, it'll give you the SEDA notation for it. So this is what I'm saying. It's like a subnet basically. And it'll give DHCP, which means that they're self-assigned. Like when you start opening up, all of them use this same network CIDR. So now when you go to port forwarding, for example, I have them separately set up here. Let me expand this so you can just get a better view. So the BSD one, they all run on my local host. So whenever I do, and I'll when we go through this, I'll explain a bit further. But when I can SSH into them, I SSH as a local host. It'll port forward to the IP, to the guest IP address that's attached to the virtual machine. And you also have to select a different port from the guest port, which is 22 for SSH. So this is how I can log into all of them at the same time if I want to. And yeah, it makes it easier because even for example, if there's no net, but my router is still on, I can still SSH into them without having to get into VirtualBox Manager and open it up and stuff. It's quite handy, and I'm happy that I learned how to do this. But this is for much later. So we say okay and okay again. So now the ISO is loaded up. The next thing to do is just to say start. So we'll go to start Fedora. You can click on this window and press on the arrows. You can say start Fedora. Once again, if you want to release your mouse, you hit the right control button. I think I can make this bigger also. Can I scale it up? Yeah, I can do that. One thing that I'm not very happy with Fedora is it's a bit slow. A lot of the things that it does, it can be a bit slow. But it's stable and it's well supported, it's well documented, so you can learn a lot by just going through it. As a new user, with a fresh look, with a fresh perspective rather. Okay, so let's just resize this. Yeah, so this is how the desktop looks. It's not the best I've seen, but I can tell it's light. It doesn't have like a lot of the things that other desktop managers have. That's for sure. But it's just as effective. The underlying operating system is the same, and we will be in the terminal for like 99% of this channel. So the desktop doesn't really matter that much. So click on install to hard drive, and you can say enter. Now this is something I've never like encountered, but I guess you can say execute because you want to run this. I don't know what this does, but I'm very sure execute will get us to where we want to go. Yeah, so the current installer that Fedora uses is called Anaconda. It's like a prompted installer. Like you don't have to do a lot of things manually like before. Because like now for some other operating systems you like had to like type out what you want. Like even Arch Linux, like I mean one OS called Arch Linux, it still does that till today, but it's for like guys who are really advanced like in using Linux. And Gentoo the same thing, and yeah, you'll get there one day. You'll get there one day. Yeah, so here's the installer, Anaconda installer. As you can see, we'll select English. That's a language I'm comfortable with. Yes, so localization. The time zone is it auto selects, the keyboard auto selects, the networking is fine. So yeah, let's just pick that. This is already ticked by default. If you click on it again, it unticks it for whatever reason. So just leave it ticked and say done. You don't need to change anything right now. The automatic stuff I think is okay, so just say done. Root account, for now we don't need a root account, but one day we will, so we'll leave that for later. Then we'll create our user. You can select your whatever name you want. For me it will just be the name of the channel, Linux, and my password, well, it's my password, so you can select whatever you want. It's a bit simple, but this is like one of the things that I like about Fedora. It warns you about such things because others don't. Others expect you to know what you're doing out of the gate, which is not very fair in my opinion. But since this is not going to be like out open on the internet or anything, it should be okay. And yeah, I can say done. Maybe before we say done, let's look at the advanced options here. Okay. This will make sense much later when we get into things, and so will this. Group membership. Usually, the will group is a group that has something we call pseudo privileges. Just in a nutshell, whenever you're using a device like on Linux, you do not run with full permissions. Like you can't do everything that you want to do unless you're on this. Either you have pseudo privileges specifically, or if you're in this group. So that means that we will be able to do things like update our operating system and manage configuration files that normally users are not allowed to. The IDs, this will be explained much later because right now I don't think it's very relevant to just get done here. Yeah, so with all that, we can say done. It'll ask you to do it again, so you say done. Yeah, that's it. I think now we can say begin installation. This will take like around 3 minutes on my laptop. So what I'll do, I'll pause the recording and I'll pick up once it's done. Yeah, so see in a bit. Okay, so that's done. It's installed. So now the next thing that we can do is just follow the instructions here and reboot our system. So we'll click on finish installation. And then we can shut down our live session. This is a live session, meaning that whatever is done here, if you create a file or whatever, it's not persistent. It's a temporary. It's just a temporary, let's say, environment that you can just test, like if things are working, like sound drivers are working, Bluetooth and the like. Although I haven't seen Bluetooth here. Yeah, so what we'll do is come to leave and we'll shut down. This is it. Yes. Okay, so now we're back into our VirtualBox Manager. Now we want to remove the ISO so that we can now boot from the virtual disk. So we'll come to storage and this, and then we remove it with the disk, and then you remove that. So remove, and all that's left now is the SATA, which is a virtual SATA. So okay, and then we can say start. Yeah, can just say enter on the first one. It should come up anytime now. Okay, this is asking us to just finish our configuration, which is, I guess it's okay. And now it should now do the actual booting. Good. So yeah, let's can just check what else is here. Open box, language. Okay, we'll just put our password here and click enter. Yes, and that's it. Now we've booted off the virtual hard disk. We can close that. We can also just look around here. This should be this process. This is a process that runs on first boot. It'll take a bit of time to close down. So the first thing that we want to do is make our display look a bit better. Though we won't be using it much, it's just good to have a good desktop experience when you do come into it. So we'll go to preferences and go to monitor settings, select my current monitor is 1920 by 1080, and I'll say apply, yes, and I'll save that, yes. So that's done. The next thing I want to do is just have a look at our terminal. It's usually under System Tools, Q Terminal. Let me just bring this up a bit and say, let's just use one of the basic commands. Okay, I don't like that color scheme at all. So right click on it, you can go to preferences, and we can change our font. And we can make it, for example, I'll use that, maybe increase the font to maybe 14, say okay, and then change the color scheme here. We can go into dark pastel, I like that one, that's much better. One other thing that maybe we can look into changing is under the behavior, which is a history limit, size limit. Maybe these commands will be new to you and you're going to run them quite a bit. Maybe you can just push that to maybe 10,000 if you like, or you can even use unlimited history, it doesn't really matter, but 10,000 I think is a safer approach to that. Yeah, and then we can say apply and okay. So that's it. Now we're into our terminal. It's running. Okay, so the first thing, and maybe this is the last thing that we'll do today, so that when we start the next time, we'll start on a stable, fully updated system. We can use one of the commands I mentioned earlier, called sudo, which is super user do. It has, I guess, it allows you to do special, run special commands as though you're the root user on your device. It's normally, like a normal basic host does not have sudo privileges, or rather, a basic user has no sudo privileges. But as an advanced user who's going to be managing their own system and maybe the system of others in the future, it's best you have experience with it. So the first command we're going to use is sudo, and DNF is a package manager for Fedora. More on that later. And we'll say update, and then we will chain that with the ampersand, double ampersand, and which is on shift 7, and then we can say sudo again, DNF, and then upgrade with a -y. So basically this is says like as the root user, run the DNF package manager and update my programs. Like, you're telling it to give you the latest information regarding the packages available, and at the same time we're going to do sudo again because sudo times out and we don't know how long that is going to take. We'll say DNF again and then upgrade those packages that are currently installed on my computer, and yes is automatically say yes to any questions that come up. So once you press enter, you get this prompt, and these are the golden rules of running as a sudo user. And it says the same. We trust you have received the usual lecture from the local system admin. It usually boils down to these 3 things: respect the privacy of others, think before you type, with great power comes great responsibility. These 3 things are basically just to remind you that what you do on a system, like a shared system especially, can affect others, and you being able to do the things that you can do as a sudo user should not make you abuse those powers basically. But as you go along this path, you will learn a greater deal regarding this, like what the good thing, the better side of Linux and what it comes with. And I think when your skills grow, also your social the social consideration should be there, because you can do you can do both good and bad things basically in Linux. Let's just say that. Yes, so it asks for a password which we'll enter, and if you get it right, it will start doing the updates. So yeah, so those are the packages that need to be updated, and now it says this is the total download size, and yeah, the default, if you press enter, it will be no, so you have to press yes for the updates. Oh, but we can also do -y here. It will ask us for that. So just start the exactly. So this is where we're going to leave off. That's a larger update for me, and we'll pick up the next time once we've installed and everything is running. Then now we can start getting into the nitty-gritties of the terminal and Linux. So I hope this has been helpful, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.